Hey everybody, this is episode 29. I'm Kenyon Clark here with Jeff Fry, and we got a guest on this week, Dusty Wood, for our first video podcast. So hopefully that'll be good for you guys on YouTube to have something to look at other than a picture. But Spotify and Apple Podcast and the website, all the audio will still be there too. So if you're listening to this on Spotify and you want to go see the video, then go to YouTube and watch that. And then again, if you missed last week's episode on Spotify or Apple Podcast or anything, that's because it was only on YouTube. Since we did the video, we were out at Jeff's doing some burning and stuff. So we did it there. It was kind of a short episode. It's a weird week as far as schedules go. So that's where that one's at if you want to see it. But like I said, tonight we got Dusty on. We've been trying to get him on for months.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So we finally got him on. He's kind of
He's scared.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I come in the video, start
Yeah, you picked the right one to come on to.
That's
So,
all right.
Dusty is a local deer slayer, we'll call him.
I try to be some.
Right. So, first of all, let's just get kind of some of your background as far as where you come up. I know your whole family hunts and your kind of upbringing in hunting and all that, how you got started and where
Yeah,
you're at
my
now.
family's kind of known around here for hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Everything.
Right.
I mean,
right.
Jeff's been around my family his whole life.
Mm-hmm.
My uncle George was probably the biggest deer hunter of our family.
Right.
He started deer managing back when you never heard of deer managing, you know. So I've been brought up around. I've been blessed by being brought up around people that they knew what they were doing.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
And I just kind of fell into it, you know. Dad, he's a deer killer.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
He's herd control.
Yeah.
And he kills a nice one every now
Yeah.
and then, you know.
Yep.
He sure does. But he'll just flat tell you, I'd rather shoot a doe.
Yeah. They're a lot easier to shoot.
Well, yeah.
Well, they can be. Some of those
Well,
older does.
Yeah, some of them are pretty tough.
Yeah.
Pretty tough.
yeah.
I started bow hunting when I was 9.
Yeah.
We used to do a lot of 3D shoots. I know Jeff got in that. Your dad was big into 3D. They had the archery shoot, you know. And
Not to age you, but what years would this have been around?
I would have been around 88. I think I killed
So
my first deer.
late 80s?
Yep.
Okay.
And Jeff would know. I mean, you got 1 or 2 chances a year at a deer.
You
back
had a
then.
chance. You
Yeah.
better
You
take
know?
every
And
opportunity.
you seen
Yeah.
that Forky walk by, you better shoot him.
Right, exactly.
You know? I mean, that's
Yeah.
the way it was. You know, I can remember going a week or so back then, you know, see a doe and 2 little ones or so.
Yeah, we went from a spot there in the 80s, early 90s where, you know, you might go 2 or 3 weeks and be lucky if you seen any deer. And if you did, well, then you was in a very hot spot.
He was in a good spot.
And then you had to try to beat everybody else off of it. You
Oh,
know?
yeah.
You kept your mouth shut. You didn't tell nobody
Yeah, you
saw
don't want
it.
to tell anybody about
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And then, about the mid-90s on, we had an explosion of the deer population.
Right. Especially like 95, stuff like that.
And then on up to 2012, of course, when we got hit by the blue tongue.
Yes.
And then now that knocked us way back, but we're back on the increase again. It's
We
a
are.
gradual swing
We are.
back, but
Yeah, I've see a few deer. Like this year, we found 2 on us that probably was blue tongue. I mean, they had the real light racks,
Right.
you know, they velvet, you
Yeah.
know, is what they died in. But
And you're going to have some of that every
you
year.
are,
I
you
think.
are. Oh yeah, definitely.
It's just
definitely.
how bad it's going to be will depend on how dry it is. But I think,
is.
you're definitely
It
going to see
is.
some of that. Especially if you're managing enough ground and then you got enough deer, you're probably going to see some of it.
Right. We ended up going in on basically about all of the ground that we got and started digging small, deep ponds. Basically, they haven't got a lot. Well, you wouldn't want to frog gig them.
Yeah.
One step's
lose
pretty
the
deep.
gig.
that's what the pond at my house is.
You know, I
Yeah.
mean, that first step, you're down. you know?
Right.
But basically, I guess they're midges.
Yep.
That bite their, I guess, mainly their nose and tips of the rack and stuff like that. And I don't know, 24 hours they're dead probably. I mean, it's
Yeah,
pretty,
it just
George
depends.
had one on camera that died from one camera in between another camera.
No kidding.
Really?
Yeah, from EHD. And it happens quick. I guess they hemorrhage, and fever, and everything else, you know.
Yep.
But it sure sucks when you're watching a deer all year and he's almost done, then he dies.
Right there at the end of the summer.
And it always happens to your good deer.
Oh, yeah, right.
You know, this year shed hunting, you know, I found 3 of our upcoming deer dead this year. You know, I don't know if they were crippled during gun season, more than likely, you know, or bow. I don't know.
That does tend to happen around here some.
It does. It was a war zone over there by us.
Yeah. Yep.
But no, I started bow hunting. Dad didn't gun hunt, and I gun hunted with George. Back then, we did a lot of deer drives in the gun hunting, and I wasn't the best shot in the world.
Yeah, right.
I had an old A5 Browning that Dad let me have, and whatever slugs he had in the drawers, that's what slugs I got that year.
Yep. Whatever was there.
Right. I still remember the first deer I ever shot with a gun. I've got a real good bow story, but you'll have to get Dad on here to tell that one.
We were just talking about that last week. We're going to have to get him on too sometime.
Because I don't want to tell it without him.
Yep.
But I remember on my very first deer I ever killed with a bow or a gun, we was driving a creek that runs there, actually north of Jeff's house, but we were over by the hog farm over in that area. And back then, you can ask Jeff, it was just us down in there, just locals, you know. And we hunted everywhere. I mean, everybody hunted with everybody. Seen someone park there, you went somewhere else.
Right.
You know, I mean, not now.
No.
But anyways, it was a long push and everything like that. And I was 9 years old. I was a chubby little boy. I was wore out by the end of the day. And I can remember looking up, and George set me behind this oak tree that was just a big old oak tree. And 5 or 6 deer came in, you know, and that was a lot, you know. What it was a doe and a couple little ones, probably a last year's young one, and a buck. And George said he fell asleep over there because George didn't let me get too far away. You know, he was within 50 yards of me. And I seen the rack, you know, and I picked out the biggest deer in there, and we were all kind of together, you know. And the biggest one kind of walked out, and I just kind of quit paying attention to the rack. Now I'm talking rack. I'm talking like a 6-pointer.
Right.
You know? I shot. And back then we hunted for meat and everything like that. Well, we killed 2 of them, you know. And the whole time I thought I killed a buck. I was just so happy. I get up there, and it was all does laying there. Never even hit the buck.
You know, you should have paid a little more attention to that part, huh?
Yeah. Yep. The doe was bigger than the buck.
Well, yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
That happens.
I had the reverse happen to me bow hunting one time. I was back there southeast of my house in the Big Timber, and you know, didn't see very many deer, and one come slipping in behind me, and I just drawed back and shot. And it took off through the woods, and I got down, tried to find my arrow, and blood sign, couldn't find nothing. I was like, well, I'll go get George. So I went to George's house, got him. He followed me down there. He asked me, well, what'd you shoot? And I said, I shot a big doe. Big doe. Okay. So we got to looking around. He found my arrow, and then he took off on the blood trail, and he hollered at me pretty soon. He said, what'd you say you shot? I said, I shot a big doe. And he said, well, it grew horns and balls. It was just a little spike. You know, I had about 3-inch spikes.
Right.
It was so funny. George gave me such a hard time about that.
I remember hearing about that.
He said I was going to have to go back to sex ed at high school.
I could hear him saying that. Yeah. Kind of a short story on my first deer as far as bow kill. I was shooting a little Darton 40 MX. And I know Jeff probably remembers them bows.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, kind of, they were the beginner bow back then.
Yeah.
And
he's making it sound like I'm old.
Me too. I shot one.
I was going to say he's telling a story about himself. So
I remember Whitetail Legends. But we were hunting up on the river. And Dad actually had set a climber. You remember the old TV tower stands with the platform on them?
No, I don't remember.
Yeah, well, liar.
I don't know how in the world ever got in them things, you know.
I don't know how we stayed in them.
Well, that's what I mean. This piece of plywood up there,
On top
you know?
of the TV tower held to the tree with a dog chain.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Dangerous living right there.
Yeah. Yeah, Dad, get up in there, you'll be all right. You know?
I took living on the edge to a whole new level.
Yeah, you're 9 years old. That stands down in there. You can go a couple hundred yards in the woods with your flashlight, and you'll find
You'll
it.
find it. Yeah, just go down there. You take a right at the big oak tree.
Right.
You can't miss it.
Yeah. Needless to say, I'd stay till about light, and then I'd go.
Yeah. Yep.
But no, we get in there and we start hunting. This short version of the story. And Dad, he's like I said, he's in a little portable next to me. He said, "Hey, there's a doe and two little ones coming." Of course, I'm excited, you know. And I look and I was like, "Oh my gosh, they're close. They ain't out there. They're shooting distance, you know."
Yep.
And they come walking around, and the two little ones did. And I get ready to draw on the little doe, you know. And she comes up and walks right at me. And Dad's like, "Hey, just wait." He goes, "The mom's coming up through here, you know." And I was like, "I don't care."
This one's right here.
This one is right here, you know. Well, it was facing me, and Dad's like, "Don't shoot it, you know." Well, the old doe finally came up through there. And if your dad was here, he would probably remember this story at the locker part of the story. So, anyways, the old doe comes up through there, and I get drawn back on her, and I shot, and it was probably just a pull and shoot. There probably was more instinctive than looking at the sights, you know.
Yep.
But that deer, honestly, can turn completely around. I hit her in the neck and dropped her, which was great for me. You know?
Yeah.
Well, it's flopping around, you know. And before I shot, actually, I should say, the whole tree was shaking.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole tree was just, you know, I mean, I was so pumped up. And I had I think 3 more arrows, and I missed the deer every time trying to shoot it. I mean, it was all around it. Dad said, "Get down there and finish it off," you know. I was like, "All right." So I get down there, I walk up there and shoot it, and I'm watching it. It keeps kicking and kicking. Dad's getting everything out of the stands. I was pulling an arrow over here that I missed. And, well, anyways, I ended up shooting it 3 times. We get to the locker, and your dad's like, "Hey, it looks like you got 3 or 4 good shots." I was like, "Well, it's still moving." Dad's like, "He's been around his Uncle George. Keep shooting him until they quit moving." You know?
Oh.
But that's a short story to that. It was a really comical hunt.
Oh yeah.
But I'm gonna have to let Dad tell that story.
Yep.
Because he's the storyteller.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The old man. I was gonna say, if we get him and Dad on here, there ain't no telling where we go with all the stories from those guys hunting.
I don't know if it, yeah. It's probably maybe one of your dad's best deer. He killed with Dad. It was a really good 8-pointer, anyways. I remember. They pulled up and they had that thing in a Dodge Omni.
Hey.
I mean, it worked. You know?
Yep. That's right.
But I do remember him killing that deer that morning.
Yeah.
And then I remember them hunting together, and they used to use walkie-talkies.
Yeah.
And Dad had a spike come by him one morning. He hollered at your dad. He said, "Hey, there's a spike up here. It's got 10 or 12-inch spikes." Your dad said, "Ah, bull." Well, Dad shot him.
Yeah.
Told you.
Just to prove him wrong.
Yeah, you know.
Yep.
And Dad, you know, he's always been about just having fun.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean,
I think like as just deer hunters in general, a lot of times we get too far away from that.
oh yeah.
I mean, some guys take it so seriously, get so wound up about shooting only certain deer at only times, and like obviously I'm all for managing deer and all that, but if it's to the point where it's not fun anymore,
right,
man, you need to go back to doing what you were doing when it was fun.
And that's well, I mean, we've touched on this before, and I have too. That's one of the reasons why I quit for a while.
I can see that.
I got burnt out on it. It wasn't fun. No, it was turned into a job. You know, and you know, if I didn't kill this, you know, big buck, Well, then I didn't have a successful season. You know, I got away from what deer hunting is really supposed to be about. Now that I'm back into it, I don't care if I kill. I don't even care if I kill a buck. I just enjoy being out there.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I at least want a nice mature doe. You know, for meat and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, I'm looking for that every year. But just being out there again and getting back to the roots of deer hunting.
Yeah.
And the fun that we used to have when we was young, and there was no deer. You know,
Right.
Right.
If you killed a 6-pointer back then, you'd done something.
Oh yeah.
You know, and now, you know, it seems like you just put so much pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
And you get away from the roots of it, and it just gets where it's not as enjoyable as what it should
Right.
be.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm sure you probably went through that phase too. I think we all did back then.
I hunted a deer one year, and he was a big 12, and the deer was way in the 190s. I mean, he was a monster deer, and I had it in so bad for that deer, and I came close a couple times, but it got to where I hated going.
Right.
And I let some dandies walk that year. You know, I mean, some deer that I never should have let walk.
Right.
And I told myself I would never, ever hunt a deer like that again.
Yeah.
Some people can. I'll always go into a year I'll have a buck that I want to kill.
Oh, yeah.
Most of the time I kill a good buck hunting that buck.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, that's usually the way it goes because it's hard for me to pass up a 5 or 6 year old buck.
Yeah,
you
can't
know.
do it.
I mean, it's
Well, there's no reason to.
there's
Right,
not.
right.
You know, I mean, you've got to do part of your management. This year, you know, the first buck I killed, he was an 8-pointer, not a big rack on him. I think he was around 240-pound dressed, big old bull.
Oh, yeah.
Far as part of management, you got to get those big deer like that out.
You
know?
killed a big bull a year before last. I skinned around that thing for an hour and a half. I was like, good
You
Lord.
probably look like a bull
Oh, yeah.
hanging there.
He did. He did. No, that's
Yeah.
Nate talked about that as being maybe part of the reason he got to kill his deer this year because he just had one of those big bullies. Like, I'd show you pictures of it sometime. Like 300-pound deer.
Yeah.
120-inch rack maybe.
Yeah.
But he was just a bull. He had that attitude.
Yeah.
So that deer ended up dying earlier in the year, and Nate kind of thinks maybe that has something to do with his
it
buck
does.
moving in there.
It does. Yeah.
You know, because he doesn't have to worry about that guy running him off all the
Yeah.
time now.
Well, Dad killed that big. I think it was probably 2 years ago now.
That big goofy horn.
Yeah,
old
just
deer.
huge bases
Yeah.
on him.
Yeah.
That deer came in there to me one evening in a food plot. There were 3 other nice bucks that tried to get into that food plot. They wouldn't even walk into it.
Yep.
I mean, they would walk around me and go back and just totally outskirt it.
Yeah.
And he would stand in there, and he seen 2 deer before I could even see him. He'd lay his ears back. Well, I get to looking around, and I look over there in the brush, and I see this buck looking out. Well, he wasn't going to go in there, you know. And I was like, man, I ought to shoot him. You know, and I was like, well, he's everywhere right now. I can put Dad on him. You know? Well, Dad ended up killing him, too.
Yep.
And, you know, we went mainly from him to several 2-year-olds in there. It don't seem like they bother them as much because,
Right.
you know, they're just going to run around him, you know.
Yeah.
This year, we still got one old buck in there, but we had several nice bucks. We had, you know, some good 4-year-old deer,
Right.
you know, this year.
Yep.
And 3 or 4 5-year-olds. I think that deer I killed, we had sheds to him. That deer disappeared for 2 years, actually. I had my daughter on that deer 2 years ago, and he was in the upper 180s then. He may have had EHD or something. His hooves were actually curled.
Yeah.
And from the sheds from 2 years ago to that, which he was probably 7 or 8 this year when I shot him.
Right.
And he dropped, you know, a little bit in rack. I mean, he had big, their tines were really big where they came out of the bases, and then they just narrowed down pretty quick.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, like he was on the downhill for sure.
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, his teeth weren't even a 1/4 inch,
No.
you know,
Yeah.
inside him, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he was, and he had been injured high in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens, but I didn't even make a good shot on him,
Right.
you know, and that really makes you sick.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I mean,
I've
I hadn't
done it
done that in
plenty.
a while.
Yeah.
You know, but the thing is, I knew where I hit this deer. And I go back in that evening, and I watch him in there. And I can't shoot him. He's in a thicket. I can't get to him. But I tried.
Right.
He could still get ahead of me, and I couldn't shoot through that stuff.
Right,
And I thought,
right.
I'm going to run him out. I'm just going to have to just wait him out.
Yeah.
And, you know, George and them's like, oh, can we maybe push him, you know? And I was like, he's in such an easy area to find him
Yeah.
that I don't want to push him out of there. And I kept telling them guys, I said, he's hitting him in the back part of the ribs. I said, I don't know what happened, you know? I mean, I don't know how he's alive, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
And I seen him the next morning. Now, the next morning he was in really bad shape.
Yeah.
I was surprised to see him up. I went, I had to work that first day off of work. Actually, George went in there one day and just slipped through. He didn't really look, just slipped to see if he could see if he was laying or not, you know. Didn't see him. I went in there that Monday, and the deer was actually less than 50 yards from where I last seen him. So it worked out. I mean,
Right.
I hated that happened. The
Yeah.
deer was actually hit high in the back already, so the meat probably wasn't good on him anyways.
Right.
But still, it sucks.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
Yeah. Oh, it does for sure.
You know.
But at the same time, it's nice to find them too.
Yes.
Because, you know, I've done
yes.
that before where you do that, and man, you're just sure they're dead,
Yeah.
but you don't find them, and then you never do come
Yeah.
across them, and that sucks too.
And this deer here, I muzzleloader hunted all around that area.
Mm-hmm.
I seen one really, really good buck during muzzleloader season that was too far and didn't get to watch him that long. I come in the night of muzzleloader season that evening. In my driveway, there's two shooters. I'm like, right here in my house, you know?
Yeah.
So the next day I kind of set up on them, you know, because they were in my food plots. So I thought, well, they're probably crossing the road going into that hinge cut. So I go in there and set up. Two mornings later, and I'll be dang, there's 3 bucks came in there. The first buck I actually seen had a bigger frame than the deer I shot. Just didn't have the points and didn't have the height.
Right.
Just a really, really good 9-pointer.
Mm-hmm.
The buck that I ended up killing, he wasn't in that great a shape. I mean, he was feeding and stuff, but you could see where he'd been hit high.
Yeah.
You know. And he came up through there. I let all of them go by. He came up, and of course, there was a smaller 8-pointer, around 120s or maybe 130 or something like that. Well, I'm keyed in on this. I look over. I see the bigger 9 kind of up on the bank of the creek going on.
Mm-hmm.
I get ready to shoot. The 8's still right there. Oh, he freaks out. When the buck I was wanting to shoot, he jumps out there a ways, and he's not going to stay. I shoot. I seen the limb. It's one of those.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I might as well say it. We was all thinking it.
Yeah. And I was like, you know, what's the odds? But probably really high. I'm going to hit this limb. It's this big around on the
Exactly.
whole kill zone, you
Yeah.
know. And I did.
Yeah.
And it hit him back, and I'm pretty sure the arrow went in and up
Yeah.
on him, you know. And like I said, it hit him in the back part of the ribs. But I really think the angle it went up,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
maybe sliced some liver or something, you know. It just
Upper part of the liver.
maybe
Yeah.
it could have been, you know. But anyways, he's going on the wall.
Yeah.
The moral of the story is I
Yep.
got him.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Right. So, obviously, you shot that buck this year, and you had pretty good success over the last several years. I mean, I don't know how far
Yeah.
back it goes, but obviously, that's a testament to your guys' management and stuff.
Yeah.
What kind of things do you guys do as far as like food plots, running those, and then you talk a little bit about the hinge cutting and stuff. What are some of the biggest things you think, as far as what you guys do to see success year after year?
And how many acres are you managing also?
In the area around me, about 1,200.
Yeah.
We've got farther south. I know you guys hunt in Kansas a lot. You know?
Yeah.
So
That's where we're at right now, isn't it?
yeah. Farther south down in there on the other ground, you know where it's at.
Yeah.
There's a little over 2,000 down there now.
Really?
I'm blessed to be able to be involved in all that.
Right,
You know?
right.
Yeah, you get a lot of opportunities that the
Yes.
ordinary layman or ordinary bow hunter
No,
wouldn't necessarily have.
But a guy can hunt 3,000 acres and still not kill deer every year.
Well, exactly.
Oh,
But,
definitely.
I mean, I'm
definitely.
not saying that you gotta have that expansive property to kill
Right.
deer. I'm just saying, he
Yeah.
has the opportunity to hunt
Well,
that.
we can have those 3 or 4 boons possibly there.
Yeah.
In that amount.
You can hold them.
We can hold them.
Yeah.
We can hold several of those 140s, 150, or class 5, 6 year old. We get the age structure. That's basically what we get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I figured you'd start seeing it more your way.
Not yet.
Hopefully one of these days it gets down further that way. But they was 2 pretty good deer, not too far west of you this year.
Yeah, I seen one every morning when I went to work
Yeah.
until deer season come.
Yeah. Well, that happens.
That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
So,
But no, as far as the management part, habitat and food, and really the last couple of years we've tried to actually jump up to just shooting 6-year-old deer.
right.
It's really tough if I ain't got pictures to go and know what a 5,
Yeah.
even up to an 8-year-old deer. I mean, it seems like 8, you can kind of tell them. They get more of a round. You know how an old hound starts
Yeah.
looking.
Yeah.
They get the old rounder eye. You kind of tell. And it's tough. I mean, that's one part about it. It's tough.
Yeah.
This year we had 2 bucks on us. One had a drop tine, even, I got both of his sheds, and he was just a 3-year-old deer, but he already had 24-inch main beams, 13.5-inch tines,
Right.
and he made it. As long as he don't get EHD or hit by a car,
Right.
Yeah.
we might be able to see him. There's been a few times I know that we've actually had sheds from a deer from 3 all the way up and kill him at 7, Doc, one of our friends, he's got one deer he killed a couple of years ago that was in the high 180s. And that deer's rack really changed over
Yeah.
a period of time. When he was 3.5, he was just a heavy. Most people would have called him a cull.
Right. Right.
He wasn't. He was already heavy. Most people probably thought he would have been an older deer, but he wasn't. The next year, he went from 130s to jumped up to 160s. He maybe even went into 170s. Big mule deer forks, mass. And then the next year, he actually lost his forks,
Yeah.
but he got big bladed tines. And he went up in the high 180s that year.
Yeah.
It was probably going to be his best year too. So you just never know. I mean,
Right.
yeah, it's hard sometimes. Like deer I was telling you about earlier. I've got sheds off of a deer that was a 3.5-year-old that had around 20 points. It's hard for any of us to let a deer like that
Right.
walk.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
And there's times like, well, where you're at, by public ground, you're gonna. I mean, you might as well shoot that deer because everybody else is going to.
yeah, it
and-
just depends
Yeah,
what area
but you
you're
don't
in.
want to get that mentality.
Well, you don't want to be the
You're
guy.
right. You're right.
You know,
well,
I say
I'm
that
going
all
to
the
shoot him
time.
because anybody else would shoot him.
Yeah, and I hear that a lot. If I kill a good deer or if I have a picture of a deer, you might as well shoot that where I'm at because he won't get no bigger.
Right.
Well, if you shoot him, he won't.
Exactly.
That's
what I say all the time.
You
It's
know,
like if you're that guy that if I don't shoot him, my neighbors will. Well, then you're that neighbor.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think each individual's standards or what they're aiming for as far as a buck, is different for each individual. But I know what I'm looking for in a buck, and just because I see a 3-year-old with 20 points, that's only 4 inches tall.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say, well, I might as well
Right.
shoot it because my neighbors will. No, that's not what I'm looking for. As far as bucks go, I'm looking for the mature bucks. I don't care about the score. One of the biggest bucks I ever hunted was this. I know he was at least a 6.5-year-old there behind my house.
Yeah.
And he was just 4-corn.
Yeah.
All he had was main beams that come out. It's probably 24 inches long, and then 12-inch. Well, it wasn't brow tines, so I get 12
would have been
G2s.
a 2 if he had brow tines.
You know, and it wasn't because he was going to score big. It was just
he was an old.
He was
deer.
a big old mature deer, and I hunted and
Right.
had a lot of close encounters with him. I just never could get the deal done. You know, well, the neighbors ended up killing him during shotgun season, but you know, it's just
and you know, there's places even around here, like if you're just hunting public ground, or a lot of parts of the country, parts of Michigan and Pennsylvania, you know, 3.5-year-old deer is a mature deer in some places.
Right.
And but like what you're saying, where we're at, you know, those kind of deer are a dime a dozen.
right.
Yeah. And, you know, a few years ago, Illinois, a 3.5-year-old deer was considered a mature deer in Illinois.
Yeah.
You know, I feel it's a little older now, you know.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of 3-year-old deers killed. And I'll tell you right now, the biggest deer I've ever shot with a bow was a 3.5-year-old that scored 179.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't going to let him walk.
No.
Right. It's hard to pass that deer.
You know,
how you going to
he
pass it?
had everything that you would want.
Yeah.
He's a little light on mass, but my gosh, he had candlesticks, you know.
Right.
I mean, he was just a tremendous deer, and it was one of those deer that I'm sitting here along the creek, and I had a decoy out in front of me, and I rattled, and 20 minutes later, I turn around and look like that, and he's coming up the creek bank. Well, I look, that's it. I shoot him.
Mm-hmm.
I did not look at anything else on him, shot him. Ended up getting him and everything like that. Looking at him, thinking, that's kind of a younger deer, but I don't really care right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's
You know,
something you shouldn't feel bad about that either. And
No,
that's
I
what
mean,
you're talking about.
He's still the biggest deer I killed with a bow.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's what you're talking about, knowing what you're looking for.
Yeah.
If that's what you're looking for, man, even if it's a 125-inch 3.5-year-old
Right.
deer,
And
if that's what you're looking for, that's awesome. But you can't do that and then still expect to see the 150, 170-inch deer.
I killed him on some ground that I had permission to hunt. It actually wasn't any ground that we managed or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Possibility he could have got big. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he'd probably been over a 200-inch deer.
Right.
I'm just saying. I mean, probably would have.
Yeah.
Or he could have got killed that shotgun season.
Yep.
EHD, you just don't know, you know. But at that time, that's the deer I wanted to shoot
Exactly.
and shot him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. And that's what I think the way it should be.
You know.
You know.
The biggest deer I shot is on our picture of me on our website with that buck. And I mean, he was a movie star when it come to the camera. I mean, picture after picture after picture every day and night, you know, was pictures of him on that camera. And I'm like, that's the deer I want to shoot.
Yeah.
You know, and I went several times. And I seen some bigger deer than him, you know, and maybe I should have shot him, but I had my sights set on this deer. You know? And I guess because I was getting so many pictures of him, you know, I just fell in love with this deer. That's the one I wanted.
Right.
And I finally, Thanksgiving Day at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I got it done. Now, that's a whole story all in itself. But, you know, thank God there wasn't cell phone cameras around at that time. But, you know, that was the deer I picked out, and I knew even if I'd killed one bigger, I'd been happy with that one, but I had my heart set on that deer.
Right.
And I challenged myself too, you know, and I think that's a lot of it too, is to challenge yourself, but don't be afraid to fail. But I think it makes you, if you succeed, it makes your success that much more.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. One of the deer I was most happiest with was, I killed a deer probably been 4 years ago now. And, he was an 11-pointer and real mass, probably 16 inches wide, and probably he may have had 6-inch tines. But I think we weighed that deer up here. But anyways, we figured live weight, he was 356 pounds.
Yeah.
And that was one of the more prouder deer I've ever shot.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it was just, hadn't seen him much. Honestly, I went and checked the camera. 2 days in a row, he was there at 1 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
So that day I go, and the wind's iffy, but I thought I could get him to me before he could win me. And I was giving him a lot.
Yeah.
I like giving him a little, but I was giving him a lot.
Yeah.
And he ended up coming out farther. Of course, he didn't come in at 1 o'clock. He came in at dark.
Right.
I'm
You had to
there.
sit all day.
I'm there by 11, you know.
Yep.
And he comes in at dark. And I'm sitting there and looking at him, and he looks like a 55-gallon drum walking up with legs that look like they're just 2 foot long, you know, little legs, you know. And I shot that dude. I mean, he wasn't but like 10 yards. And it looked great, you know. And he ran through some tree program, and there was stuff flying everywhere. He did not, I mean, it was just, you know. And Dad started helping me track him. We get to where he crossed the road, and the road was only like 60, 70 yards. And Dad said, I don't know. Well, we found the arrow. I didn't shoot through the deer. And Dad's like, I don't know. And I'm like, I'm gut rotted now, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I was like, I ain't giving up. So I called a buddy. We start tracking him. Well, we get to another road. Now, I'm 400 yards into it right now. And I was like, maybe we should back out, you know. And the guy's like, man, he's bleeding so good, though, you know. And you could see the blood across the road. We go in there, and it stops. You know, we're 30 yards into this thicket. And I'm like, oh, man, where did I hit this deer, you know? I'm pretty sure, I mean, he was so close. Yeah, it was high. And I'm pretty sure I hit the shoulder on the other side. That's the reason I didn't shoot through him.
Right.
And I walk up a little bit, and I look over, and it's just pink, frothy blood, you know. I mean, he coughed it up.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, he's dead. you know,
Yep.
you know, and the guy with me, he's like, hey, I found your deer. And I was like, is it a great big one? It's a dead deer. I was like, well, yeah, it's probably him.
Chances are that's the one we're looking for.
Yeah. Might as well go look at the deer. So I get over there, and I was just like, oh, my gosh, he looks like a bull, you know. Just an old buck. But like I said, well, I was just so tickled. Still one of the number one deer that I've killed, you know.
Yeah. And we were talking about that before. Like a big mature deer, 5.5, 6.5-year-old deer that scores 140. I mean, that's as much as a trophy to me as that 179-inch 3.5-year-old deer you killed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The first buck I killed this year, it happened to be my first trip out.
Was that October?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was later part of October.
Later part, yeah.
And I was in between the bedding and the food.
Mm-hmm.
I was probably like 50 yards off the food. Just kind of a staging area, more or less.
Right.
And I'm watching some younger bucks, and I just kind of look down, and you can just tell, you know, when they're them big old deer, you know.
Yeah.
And I was looking at him, and I was like, I'm going to shoot him, you know. I mean, that's just all there's. I know there's 2 or 3 other better deer in here, but
yeah,
I'm going to shoot him. He came up and gave me a great shot. You know, both my kids were actually home at the time. Took them back there. I watched the deer actually go down, and he ran across a small. In that staging area right there, we've got this like a 20-yard wide, 20-yard long clover patch, and that's where they stop before
just
they go
enough
on
to stop
into
them.
the food plots, you know. And that's what he did at 10 yards.
Yeah.
And I took the kids, and they tracked him up, you know, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I had just had surgery. And I had one of Dawson's friends. I had Dawson, and then I had my daughter, Kelby. And I didn't think we was ever going to get that thing loaded. I was like, I'm going to have to call more people out here.
Bring someone with a skid loader.
Right.
Yeah.
But as far as the management part and stuff like that, we've really put the food in. We'll go usually with a couple grains. We'll rotate our beans and corn a lot. And we've got some kind of a clover, a lot of chicory mix. It's just good.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
That's always been my go-to.
It
clover
is.
chicory mix.
Oh, it is. It's good. I got a strip there at the house, and in the summer, a lot of does come in and they fawn in that area.
Right, and that provides a lot. I didn't get to touch on it on our video at my
last
house
podcast.
Yeah, but that was one of the things he asked me about the clover and chicory, why I preferred it, and a lot of it has more to do with your does and your fawns.
It does.
It gives your does the nutrition during later part of gestation and their lactation period.
Yes.
And plus, it also gives the fawns a kickstart, where they start getting off the doe and start eating greens and stuff. Well, then that gives them a kickstart into the fall months and stuff.
Right.
Which we talked about before, that gestation period, and giving them that then.
Yeah.
You're going to see a lot of benefit from your bucks from that.
Well, absolutely.
Because if they got those buck fawns, a lot of their growth or potential for growth is going to be either curbed or expanded during the gestation period when that doe, if she's, doesn't have the proper nutrition while she's carrying him, he's never going to make what he could have.
Right.
So it's good for that too. But
yeah, it definitely is. The last few years we've went in there and we started planting a lot of greens. Last year on 1 4-acre plot that we have, we probably put 1.5 acres of greens out. We didn't have enough of them this year.
Yeah.
There was more beans standing than what there was greens.
Yeah.
And
now when you say greens, you're talking?
It's a mix that we use. We'll have some radish. We'll have some turnip. We'll have kale. We'll have canola.
Canola.
And canola.
Really?
Yep. And then canola is really high.
High protein.
Yep. And they hammer it. And then we'll always have some wheat in that. Another thing that we started doing that you're going to get it. I love it on the warm days, the wheat, winter wheat.
Yeah.
One thing we started doing is letting it go ahead and grow up and head out. It's a beardless wheat.
Right.
That wheat's 20-some% protein when it heads out. That's when they're fawning, when they're lactating, when they got their fawns in a lot of times. And they'll eat it all.
Oh, yeah.
And I never really knew they would do that. And one year I just left it because it was going to be greens that fall. I just already planned on that. And I go back here and it's gone. I'm like, holy smokes, looks like it's been combined.
Where's my check?
Especially right now.
Yeah, I know, right?
But so we started doing that a little more.
Yeah.
Just leaving it out.
Yep.
And you're not only getting them on that green, a lot of tonnage.
Yep.
But
when
it heads, they'll eat them heads on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I never realized they would do that, not that much, but they do.
Yeah, as long as it's the beardless, like what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I think I can't remember what number it is, but there's a certain number we've been planting, and they just hammer it.
Yeah.
We found certain numbers of beans that actually will hold in the pods a little better than others.
Right.
And you're just talking regular soybeans.
Yes, regular soybeans.
Not winter peas and all that stuff.
No. Our greens, a lot of times we'll mix some winter peas in there and stuff, but it's more, what would you call it? The rape, I guess, basically.
The
brassicas and stuff like that.
And I think it's good, and we talk about it a lot, if you've got the room to do it, especially to have that blend of everything. I like consistency too, but there's different situations for different seed blends depending on where you're at, what you got going on. Like you said, that little 20-yard by 20-yard clover spot, I mean, really anything but clover is probably not going to have the same effect.
Right.
And the clover's going to come back a little better. It's a perennial too, so there's certain situations where one thing's going to be better than another. I like to have as much as I can, depending on what room you got, a little bit of everything.
Right.
Like some greens, some clovers, some grains.
It's like us going into a smorgasbord. We're going to pick a little bit of this. We're going to pick a little bit of that.
Right.
And the more you can put out there, the more they're going to. They're a browser.
Oh yeah.
They'll go through.
And I think, like on the food plot that we're going to do at my house, it's roughly 3 acres. But I think if you give them, if you plant it for all seasons instead of just focusing on hunting season, if you know what I'm saying, like I'm going to plant corn, I'm going to plant soybeans on parts of the field. Of course, corn is going to be the outside border to hide them from the road and stuff.
Right.
But I want to have have soybeans that I'm going to let stand, and I'm going to have so much of that, probably about an acre of it, to clover and chicory for the spring and summer nutrition, and then another part of it I'm going to cut off and have for like winter oats or something like that for the late fall. You know, and if you have that instead of just planting the whole thing, into just clover and chicory, I think you're seeing better results if you kind of break it up. You know, for each season of the deer's.
And then you got that stuff there in the late winter when the clover and chicory, like even if it's after hunting season, like it has been the last couple of years here, when it gets really cold for extended periods of time and that clover goes dormant, at least you've still got those winter greens out there that they're going to have for that part of the year, which is the barest part of the year for them to have food anyway.
Right. And I don't know about you, but I've seen them on the clover's gone, and they'll dig the chicory up and eat the roots.
Yeah. You won't find any chicory usually in the chicory plots that we put out.
Yeah, they'll eat it out.
Yeah, it'll be bare pretty well. I mean,
yeah, there's something about
that's what happens. Yeah, you know.
That mix. It's really palatable for them.
It is,
and it helps them digest too.
Yeah,
you know, it's a digestive thing as well. So
another thing I put in mine too, I put kale in it. You know, but it seems like they like that. Yep. It's just a big mix that we've kind of put together and we've used for the last few years. And, you know, when you're pulling all the deer out there and they're feeding in it for a good bit before they move on.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
And that's what you want. If you can get them pulled out into your food plot, you know, before they go, just get them out there earlier.
Yeah.
Before they go off to whatever their destination field's going to be at night.
Right.
You'll have a chance to shoot them in the daytime. And then that's where we talk about all the time. Like, you can decide, okay, whether or not to move this deer on to the next age class or go ahead and kill that deer. How many does you need to shoot? You got them there to shoot them.
Right.
Where hopefully they'll be on you instead of their neighbors.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's where the food really keys in. Late season, it becomes unbelievable on some of our ground, you know. We go from, let's say we have 40 deer staying on this piece of property. Say it's 400 acres or something, you know. There may be more, there may be less, I don't know. Then all of a sudden you got 100, 120 head in there.
Yeah.
You know, and it's crazy.
Just
it's
pouring
crazy
in on the food.
Bucks, you know, that come in there. And last year we had several deer stay on us, you know, that came in. They just stayed.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's a testament to just how little food source there is out for them that time of year. And if you've got it, like you're talking about, I mean, 2-3 fold you can have come onto your property.
It is this you know, this farm equipment anymore, you don't go out and pick up corn for your hogs like you used to. There's nothing left out there, you know, and if it does, it sprouts, you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
not near enough to sustain a deer herd.
No, it's not anymore. So, I mean, they need something. I mean, they can survive.
Right.
But if you want to get serious in it and you want to pull them to you, you put the food out.
Yep.
And then you see what you got left over that next. We did that here last week. We went through and checked every food plot. I say we got around 40 acres of food scattered. And we seen what farms was hit the hardest and
what they was eating.
Yeah, basically what we've already decided what's going everywhere. I mean, this is going to be corn here. This is going to be beans here. We do try to rotate on them.
Well,
right.
You know, but one farm we had to have more corn this year because it was gone. I mean, it's totally gone. One patch I walked by it a couple times this year and late, and I thought, man, there's still some corn out there. I never went up through it. Well, shed hunting, I went up through it.
Nothing left.
Little brown cobs in there. So
Yep.
I mean, you ever see them work on them? I mean, that's how they can get
Yeah.
that all off there, you know.
Yep.
Most of the time they can, except about that far at the
Where they can't reach.
Right.
Yep.
But
And usually if you find the cobs pulled down or on the ground, that's coons and squirrels.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's not saying, you know, they don't pull them down, the deer will eat them off the ground or whatever. But
No,
but if you see them up there like what you're talking about, definitely
That's
it's a deer.
deer,
Yeah. I mean, here where we're at too, we can knock it down as long as you don't hunt any migratory birds.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
You know.
Yep.
Made sure we could do that.
Yep. I had a guy.
Not like we've ever done anything like before.
Yep.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yep, exactly.
You know,
Hollow stumps work well.
Yep. So, obviously you guys are going around and looking at your food plots and stuff, which is a good time of the year to do that. And you just finished up your shed hunting, I guess.
yeah.
How'd that go for you? And then what's kind of some other stuff you got going on right now this time of year, getting ready for next year?
We had a big surprise this year. We had a deer on us in a different county that we don't hunt a lot.
In Kansas.
Yeah. We've got an 80 in there, but it's in the right spot.
Yeah.
We've got the funnel is what we've got there. And I've killed 3 boons off that ground.
Yeah.
And there was a deer shot in there a few years ago by a family member, and we had never seen him again. And he was 5 at the time. 4, he was huge. I ain't going to say he scored, but he was huge.
Yeah.
Anyways, 5, he was shot. Pretty sure he shot high in the back. Never found him. We never seen the deer again. No pictures, nothing of him. Didn't know what happened.
Right.
I mean, he went into a huge tree program. We really didn't have permission to get in there.
Yeah.
And so I just figured he's gone. Well, I picked up his shed this year.
Really?
And he's a deer.
Yeah. Yep.
He is a deer.
Yeah.
He's just he's one in a million deer.
Right.
I mean, the right doe, the right buck had to get together to make him.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, it's just
And then a combination of everything else.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's I think he's 8 this year. He's at least 7. I've got 3 years of his sheds. 1 year he jumped over 70 inches 1 year. Just a genetic freak kind of, I mean, but I think we ended up, between me and my uncle and Dawson, my son, we picked up probably 90 sheds, something like that.
Yeah.
And we put the miles on.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
really do.
Oh, you have to.
My Uncle George, he's retired now. And I got to call him and ask where to go because he's already
See where he's not been.
That's where you need my sister. We was out at her property Sunday.
Yeah.
And we're leaving, and she's driving a pickup truck, and we're sitting on the back, and I told her to stop. I thought I seen a shed. Well, I walked out there, and it wasn't, so we take off, and she's driving down the field road 40 mile an hour. We're back there, and all of a sudden she slams on the brakes, and I said, what?
Yeah, not what? I don't know. 100 yards later.
Yeah, and I'm like,
yards
what's
later.
going on? And she goes, you got me the fever, and she jumps out and takes off walking through the woods, comes out with nice.
Yeah, we figured him probably mid 130s.
Yeah, mid 130s.
But like Dad
40
was saying,
yards off the road out in the timber.
Yeah, like Dad was saying, she was walking out there and, she got out of the way. It's like, oh, there's no way. And then she walked 10 more yards. Like, there's no way she saw something. And then she walked 10 more yards and she picked it up out of the ground.
Yeah.
Like, hey, no way.
I told you I saw something.
Yeah. Ain't no way.
Like you had that planted out there.
Right. Now, George, he ended up getting the laser surgery done this year.
Okay.
And he's a freaking eagle.
Yeah, picking them out. Like, I should have done that a long time ago.
Really?
3 days, he picked up he picked up at least 26 sheds in 3 days.
No kidding.
Wow.
And I was like, goodness sakes, boy, he's like eagle eye now. He told me, he's like, man, this surgery, I can see them things out there a long ways. He said,
Should have done that a long time ago.
Yeah.
I need to start mushroom hunting with him.
Right. Yeah. I did find a mushroom yesterday.
I've heard some people find some mushrooms.
They're not up very good. But anyways,
They said they thought the frost got them, or the freeze got them.
Oh, I'm sure it's going to change them. Yeah, definitely. But anytime, they ought to come up good. But no, I shed hunting that day there and walked over to a spot where I usually find something. I seen one, so I was like, get some little warmer weather, maybe they'll be up.
Yeah.
That's a thing of the past, too. I don't know.
Yeah, not many people doing that.
Why we don't find them like we used to,
I think a lot of that has to do with turkeys.
Oh, yeah. We used to have a place, the whole ridge, they'd scratch the whole ridge up,
Yeah, they're south of my house. I know what you're talking about.
You just wanted to go in there and shoot them all.
Exactly. You go in there for raking bushel sacks back
Oh,
before then, and then turkeys moved in. It's like, I hate turkeys. I hate them.
We should ought to have more mushrooms now with a few turkeys that are seen around.
I'll tell you what, we're low on turkeys.
Oh,
I didn't
man.
even get a tag this year. Gib and George hunts, and George's son hunts, and his granddaughter hunts, and I didn't even get a tag. I mean,
Yeah.
there by me, there may be some birds move in, but there's only 4 or 5 toms this year.
Yeah.
And, 1,600 acres or so, you know.
Yeah, and that's not uncommon right now.
No,
It's-
no. And, I mean, we trap. I wish the coons were worth something.
Yeah.
but
It would help.
Oh my gosh, there's so many of them. I don't know how many coons we've caught in over the last 5 years. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And
Do you think that the coon numbers has went up because the coon hunters with the hounds have gone down?
it's a big part of it. Yeah,
I-
and your
has to
price,
be, right?
Well, that's what I know. I get a lot of. I'm old school. I grew up with hounds. You grew up
Oh
with
yeah,
hounds.
yeah. I love hounds.
And so we have a little bit more insight depth in what the media or whatever has portrayed them
Right.
over the past. you know.
Right.
But I really think the hounds played a big role in predator control as
Yeah.
far as coons and coyotes and foxes. And,
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. There's nothing better to take care of your predators than hounds.
Right.
I don't care how good a caller you are,
Or how good you think you
or
are.
how good you think you are.
Right.
There's nobody ever going to take place of running hounds and killing coyotes.
No.
Nope.
You still run hounds?
I don't.
I didn't know if you still had some.
I went to the Beagles. I'm
Yeah.
on that bench.
Well, yeah, but I mean, even rabbits is hard to find.
Well, that's another thing we kind of went into managing. We've got around 70 some acres that basically, it's deer hunting too. Rabbits are there, deer are there.
Right.
Right.
But anyways, Dad, he rabbit hunts every day. I don't even know how many dogs Dad's got. He's
Yeah.
got 2 or 3 packs.
Right.
know?
Yep.
But he's retired, and that's what he likes doing. So,
Yeah.
so anyways, we put food plots out for rabbits. We plant certain grasses for rabbits. So yeah, I mean, there's enough rabbits there that you can run some dogs. you
Yeah.
know.
But wouldn't you agree? I mean, I know things are different now, but back when the deer was at their peak around here, and of course we was coyote hunting every day.
Yeah.
I mean, we wasn't hunting the same property every day.
Right.
We'd jump around and stuff. But wouldn't you agree that the coyote numbers was lower, and that you could still go in on a property a day after we ran through and still kill your target buck?
I tell you, Dad never hunted coyotes much with dogs. But if you told him we was in there that day hunting, I guarantee he was going to bow hunt it that evening.
Yeah.
Because them deer probably didn't come out of there, but they've moved in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Got them up on their feet.
Yeah, got them up on their feet. And that's one. I will never run a guy running a hound off our property.
Right.
Right. Me neither.
Just for the fact that I've seen it. It wasn't very often you seen a big buck come out.
No.
It wasn't very often you seen. If you did see deer come out, they'd stand in the field
Watch the dogs go by.
and they'd go back in.
Because any animal knows where my hound's on it, on its trail.
Right. Right. Now, I mean, none of us liked it, but every once in a while you'd have some young dogs. They'd run some deer,
Yeah.
Yeah, but we spent a lot of money on equipment
Yes, we
and
did.
training and
But
to break them.
I
of
couldn't
that.
really say it may be the last deer that dog ran.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
More ways than one.
Right,
You know?
right. I mean, it was aggravating. That's
Yeah.
the one thing we didn't want. We was out there to kill coyotes.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and it's just as aggravating to you guys running the hounds as it would be to somebody who's trying to hunt the deer.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we had a lot of time and money invested in these dogs.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to waste our time. We didn't want to waste the gas and the dog food and all that chasing a
Jason.
damn dog that's chasing deer.
Oh yeah, it's
You know.
aggravating, and no one would want to help you.
No.
They're standing wherever the coyote race is, and
Uh-huh.
you got this dumb pup.
Yeah.
He's 5 miles away
Yeah.
now. You know.
And you're still after him. But,
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you hunted, I don't know. Did you get in a Garmin time where the
No,
GPS?
I got out before the garden.
I thought so. I mean, it was better with the Garmin, but
Well, yeah, you know,
know.
back then we just had the tracking collars, and I had that 1,000 box. you
yeah,
know.
and which was great then. you
Oh,
know.
that's high technology
Oh, yeah,
back in the day.
definitely.
Yeah, what was it? Wildlife research collars that we had.
The Garmin, it went to where, like, if we all had Garmins when we hunted, we would have flat put the herds on the coyotes. Just because, hey, he's coming out this draw down here. You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
That's where he's going to go. He's ran it 3 times
Yeah.
now, you know. I mean, so, yeah, we could have really put the herds on.
And there again, your Uncle George missed the boat on that because he was I remember before I got out, he was talking about this is what GPS. This would be great if we did this. And I'm like, yeah, you should do that. And
Yep.
he didn't do it. He could have been a millionaire.
Yeah. Exactly.
Managing 10,000 acres.
Right. Right. Honestly, since the dogs have left, coyote population has probably doubled or more.
I was going to say more.
We killed 82 coyotes this year. Killed 70 some last year.
That's calling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just seems like there's just as many or more the next year.
When we was running dogs, we was killing 150, 160
a
year easy.
We was killing over 100, and we didn't run a huge area, I mean, 20 miles over altogether, I mean, one way or the other.
20-mile radius.
Yeah, probably, But, we killed several coyotes, definitely in the hundreds.
Yeah.
And the most smart coyotes, a dog was going to run them. It didn't matter.
Yeah. It wasn't like they weren't going to come into the call. Dog was going to run them
exactly
out.
Right. He ain't got a choice. He's going to run or die.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly right. And I think the same kind of goes with the coon hunting. The coon hunting's faded off, so you see a rise in the coon population. But you can't. I don't care how often you trap. You're not going to trap all the coons that you could kill with a dog.
Right.
And not only that, so you got the rise in the coon population. So now you got the rise in the turkey nest predation.
Yes. Yes.
And so then that leads to the decline in the turkey population.
Yes. I think that's the number one problem with
I do too.
With the turkeys is the coons.
Coons and skunks.
Yeah.
I think
Coons, skunks. Definitely.
Which. I got a black lab. If there's a skunk within,
he's gonna find
it. A mile of the house, he's gonna find it and kill it.
I had a coyote hound like that every time.
Yeah,
seemed like he'd find one.
On the coyotes, you listen to these biologists and stuff talk like 20 years ago, if that. Like they were talking like, coyotes would never be a problem out east, out in the Midwest. Like it wasn't even thought of.
Yeah.
And now, I think like you're talking about, guys not running dogs has had a huge effect on them spreading out this way. And now they're they're the biggest predator out here.
Oh yeah.
In the last 15, 20 years they've become that way. And if you think about it, 15 or 20 years ago is getting into when guys kind of stopped running dogs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd say it's. Gosh, I don't remember.
Well,
it's been a good 10, 15 years since I had hounds.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the popularity of it has definitely dropped off big in that span of time.
I don't know hardly of a hound that's been running our area and really in probably 10 years almost. I mean, every once in a while you'll get a group come in.
Right.
And then you'll get somebody just throw a fit.
Oh, yeah.
It only takes one.
I mean, I talked to him a couple years ago. I was like, you manage your area how you want. Mm-hmm. You let all your fawns and all your stuff get killed over there. Mm-hmm. I want these guys to come in to kill these coyotes that we can't kill calling, you know?
Yep.
And they will, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that day there, they caught 4 coyotes that they came in, that, I didn't kill them all year calling,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Yep.
So.
It's like you said, the dogs get smart just like anything else does. The coyotes get smart. They won't come into a
Them
call.
Coyotes are smart.
Yeah.
They're a very smart animal. I tell you what.
But they're going to run from a hound.
Yes, they got to.
No.
Yeah. They got to run.
There's no stand and fight.
No. And I've seen the dogs get better and better over the years on far as if he stopped, he's screwed.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He wasn't going to get
gone.
away from him,
Yep.
Mm-hmm. But no, that is one thing I really miss. And then, like I said, I would never run anybody off any of our ground that hound hunts.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Yep. Actually, I'd be out there with them. I would. I
just
mean,
ask him if you could hunt with them.
I was talking to George the other day. I said,
and George used to have hounds. And
oh
hunt with us all the time,
oh
too.
yeah. I said I'd love to get 2 or 3 older, maybe not necessarily older hounds, but some slower hounds, and just go back to killing some coyotes. Because there's a big area down in there where we live. We could still hunt them.
Yeah.
Yep. And I don't know.
And do some good.
Oh, you could.
And like obviously the nest predation is the biggest thing on the turkeys, but even the limited number that make it we still got to worry about all the coyotes we got, just like the fawns do.
Now the bobcats.
And the bobcats are, I think the bobcats are probably harder on adult turkeys and young turkeys than the coyotes.
I think a cat's one of the most, probably, I don't know if you'd call it an advanced hunter, but my goodness, they're killers.
Oh, yeah. And I'm afraid we're going to have the same issue with them as we are coyotes.
We have a lot of problems with cats, as far as any place we got rabbits, we got a lot of feral cats.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, they're bad.
Yeah. I don't want to say they're not a huge issue right now, I don't think, but they're enough of a problem that I think they're not letting us do enough about it.
No.
That it's going to get out of hand.
We have a couple properties that the cats they're out of hand there.
Yeah.
There's too many of them.
And that's getting more and more common.
And, I read on them and stuff like that, and it's like, there's only supposed to be 2 males per so many miles and stuff. Not around where I live.
Right. Yeah, they need to read that manual, don't they?
There's pretty good.
Well,
pretty
10
good
years
group of 'em.
10 years ago, did you ever believe that I'd be getting pictures off camera of bobcats in that 20-acre patch of mine right there at the house with the dogs and everything else?
Right.
Yeah.
And we do.
We get at least one picture a year of
Oh,
cat.
yeah.
And then I'll sit out there in the spring on the back porch and hear them hollering in there. And then here comes Black Lab trying to tear the door down because I'm sure he's tangled with one of them before the way he acts.
Yep.
Coyotes can be howling in the yard all around him, and he'll go out there and play with them.
Yeah.
Like he's probably got pups running around. But,
I've seen some different colors.
well, there you go. But you let a bobcat scream, and man, he's on the back porch beating on the door.
Yeah, we hear one scream. We're
What
looking.
was that?
But it's definitely changed. The predators are really around anymore.
You see many of them come in when you're calling cats?
Cats take a little longer a lot of times to call in.
They hang back quite a
They
bit.
do. They do.
And I
It
think
just depends what you're calling around too.
Yeah.
We call a lot of open instead of a lot of brush.
right. You think that has a lot to do with the way they hunt too versus a coyote? Where a coyote's just kind of coming in. He hears something.
A coyote. I do 90% of my time night hunting. A coyote, he's mousing most of the time at night.
Yeah.
So we hunt mostly big fields with waterways, stuff like that. Cat, he's looking for a rabbit.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now he'll be in waterways too. I've called him into. There's usually a thicket somewhere, and they'll come in and out. We call in anywhere from a half a dozen to a dozen cats a year, probably.
Yeah.
And called in some big bobcats. We've called in 4 or 5 for guys the last few years that's had tags. They've killed some big cats.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I think that's going to be a pretty good spot. We'll just wrap it up for tonight, unless you got anything else you want to talk about as far as the hunting or anything. And we'll get you back on here again one of these days, too.
Yeah.
If you want to come back on. Because, like I said, trying to get more guests on all the time, and we get guests coming back. That's good, too. We had the Steve Shirk guy on. I don't remember if you heard him or not.
Yes,
he come back on. And then, of course, we had Forrester a week ago or a couple of weeks ago. But anyway, so anytime you want to come back on, we'll get you back on and talk about some more of it.
Bring your dad with you next time.
Yeah. We're going to have to get that done, too.
I think you could probably get him up here.
Yeah. That would be
That'd be
a good time.
2-week episode right there.
Oh, it'd be.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to turn these down.
Yeah, no
He
kidding.
gets to laughing.
Shazam!
Yeah.
Yep.
There would be some good stories.
Yeah, we're gonna have
Probably some good ones on most of us.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get that set up too.
Yeah, we might have to edit some of that out.
Yeah.
Well, selective editing.
Well,
yeah. That's all right. But,
There's no telling what.
Well, he did used to be the county deputy around here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he was.
About the time I was, that age.
yeah, that's a whole different podcast. We could have some stories from that.
No, we don't need no stories on that.
Yeah. But anyway, just a couple of housekeeping things before we do get off of here. Well, obviously we're in the store, and I don't know if we'll continue doing the podcast in here or not, but I wanted to do it in here because we're going to be officially open next week or Monday. This is coming out.
Grand opening?
Yeah, this is
I've been hearing about it.
Friday when this is coming out. Monday, it's finally going to open up. We got everything set to go. So we got a little bit of stuff in here, and anything we don't have, we can get ordered and all that. So we're going to have some seeds and stuff. We do have a little bit of archery stuff left. Mostly going to be the management part of everything. And then what we don't have, we normally get ordered. Mm-hmm. So that's some exciting stuff that's finally here coming on Monday. And I'll announce on Facebook as far as hours and that kind of stuff. But if you do come in, tell us you heard about us on the podcast, and then we'll get you like a 10% discount or something for listening to the podcast. So,
and we can also get crossbows and bows and compound bows and stuff, for people wanting to get started or whatever. And
we do have a little bit of the archery stuff. I'm not going to ever get into the big being just like a pro shop or anything, but crossbow stuff. Obviously, I do carry some of the arrows and the broadheads and stuff like that. Stuff that guys are going to need through the season. So if you want some of that, or if you've got something and you want to order it, and you don't want to go through Dunham's or Walmart or online, you can come in here and order it and do it that way. So then, of course, the other thing, we got our podcast sponsor, Raks Big Game Supplements. They're a veteran-owned company out of Northeast Nebraska. They're deer hunters just like us here. At the time, they didn't like what was on the mineral market, so they came up with their own stuff. They got minerals, protein blocks, pelletized feed, and meal feed. It's all specifically designed for whitetails. The guy that owns the company says he's had feeders. He hasn't had a coon on them for 8 years. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. And really. If you can have some kind of feed like that where you're not feeding the coons too, man, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I'm
just trying to figure out how.
Yeah, right. These guys have got it figured out. Whatever they're doing is working. So
they got a coon hound on guard.
Probably something. That could be. But you guys can use our discount code. It's capital RHO22 when you check out there, and you'll get 5% off your entire order at raksmineral.com. That's RAKSmineral.com. And you can also stop in the shop. Now that will be open. And soon we're going to have some of their stuff in stock. But for now, you can order it through us and save some money on shipping too, because just like everything else, shipping's going up. And when you're shipping mineral bags and feed bags, it does get pretty expensive. So
and we're going to use their products on our property.
Yep.
And
we'll have pictures.
We'll
and
have pictures and
video
videos of that, and show the results and how we use them according to how they recommend. And so it'd be be pretty interesting.
Hey, that stuff helps.
Yeah,
it can't hurt.
Can't hurt.
No, it does help.
Yeah, especially this time of year.
Oh yeah, they need it right now. I mean, starting now.
Yeah,
when they finish. Yeah.
So
does and bucks.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's gonna wrap it up for this week. Dusty, thanks for coming on.
Hey,
like
thanks
I said,
for having me.
We'll have you back on, and we'll have another one out next week. Hopefully, it'll be video again. Like I said, don't know if it'll be in here or in the actual studio, we call it, where we record normally, but we'll be on next week. So thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll catch you then.